All right, so I started a new book and I want to talk about it. So I am currently reading The Girls by Emma Cline. It's a book about a young girl named Evie that joins a cult in California in the late 60s. And this book is very clearly inspired by the Manson family cult. And at first I wasn't really sure how I felt about that. I think I was initially questioning it because I wasn't sure if this was going to be a book where like it was kind of romanticizing the Manson family or not, but I kind of let it go as I got further into the book just because I kind of thought about how many more like crimes get made into like movies and books and shows, and they're not all necessarily romanticizing it either. I'm also now at this interesting point in the book where we have met Russell, who is, I think, kind of our Charles Manson. And it's really interesting to see him through the eyes of 14-year-old Evie, who at this point is romanticizing him because she's a teenage girl. It's a little different, and sees him as almost this drug of a person. He's managed to find a way to be so charismatic and charming, and he's drawn her into his cult and his world, which, to be fair, that's kind of like cult leaders' whole thing, is their ability to pull you in. So I think the aspect so far of this book, though, that I'm really liking is that we get a look at a darker, meaner side of girlhood. We see in media a lot of tendency to look back on our childhood and our girlhood with like rose-colored glasses, and we kind of dream for this innocence that we used to have. And this book actually kind of wakes us up to the reality of what it was. When I talked about the book, The God of the Woods, I talked about how it did a really good job at explaining this feeling of being a young girl who likes a boy that will never actually like you back. And this book, The Girls, actually kind of takes that feeling and takes it a step farther. This book talks about that feeling of desperation and taking whatever breadcrumbs you can kind of get from a boy. And that's something, as I was reading this book, I was like, oh my God, I remember that feeling all too well. So this book also shows Evie as kind of being a slightly judgmental, angry girl. And she compares herself to others and notices when people aren't beautiful or have like certain looks about them. And it's something that she even carries into her as she becomes an adult. And I really liked that because to me, it was refreshing to read something that isn't just innocent thoughts, because growing up as a teenage girl wasn't all innocent. You kind of had this darkness in you that you could never share out loud as much as you wanted to. And I really like that about this book so far. I'm excited to keep reading it and kind of see where it goes, because I really love this emphasis on these darker feelings that I think people sometimes have a tendency to forget that teenage girls very much do have.